Today we're starting some seeds. This is kind of the 7 to 8 week mark out from my last frost date, so it'll be about 8 weeks before I plant these guys out in the garden. We're going to be starting things like tomatoes and peppers. It is April 10th when I'm starting these, and it will be deceivingly sunny in this video. Outside of this greenhouse, the wind is still very chilly. I do want to mention right off the bat that if I'm a little bit more low energy than normal in this video, it is because I am just at the tail end of being really sick. So we're going to get some seeds into some dirt here before I run out of energy and have to go have a nap. So I'm doing all of my tomatoes and my peppers today. I have really increased the amount of peppers I'm growing this year as opposed to last year. Last year I grew one variety because I was really under the impression that living at such a high altitude, 2,200 feet, and with the cold and short grow season we have, that I was not going to be able to grow peppers out here. But last summer was a record-breaking hot summer. We got a whole week and a half of 47 degrees Celsius outside, so my thought is that if this summer is anywhere near that warm, maybe I'll be able to squeeze in a few more pepper varieties. It's worth a shot. Last season I grew King of the North. They are a bell pepper. None of them got to red. I harvested all of these as green, and they were all about this big. That being said, they were really delicious. I made a salsa verde and put some of them in there. Other than that, I dehydrated quite a few and then used them in soups throughout the winter. We actually just finished those dehydrated bell peppers not too long ago, so obviously people start seeds many different ways. What I tend to like doing is filling up my cells, firming down the soil a little bit, putting the seeds on top, and then just sprinkling a light layer of soil over top. Don't actually dig holes and then cover the seeds back up. This way I can guarantee that the seeds are going to be covered, but that the soil on top is light, fluffy, and loamy so that the seeds can easily penetrate the surface, and the soil underneath is firm but not hard so that the roots have something to dig into as well. So this is the way that I have been doing it the last few seasons, and it's worked fairly well for me. When it came to my leeks and a few of my scallions actually, I realized I should have put them a little bit deeper in the soil. So I'm making sure to just be aware of how much dirt I'm putting over top, and yeah. Brett? Hey! I'm going to be growing them again this year, but I will be growing significantly less, mostly because I know I'm not going to be able to get that big, juicy, fleshy, red pepper that I would want. So I've kind of switched gears with the pepper direction, and I'm going to be okay with purchasing organic bell peppers at the store as opposed to growing them, and focus a little bit more on some spice peppers or some other little more, not bell peppers, essentially. I don't know what you would call them. They're just not bell peppers. I've got 4 other pepper varieties I'm growing this year, all of which I got from West Coast Seeds. I do live close to the West Coast here in Canada, so this is the biggest seed company. Between the West Coast Seeds and the Incredible Seed Company, that's basically where I get all of my seeds. Which is kind of funny because both of these seed companies are from the coast, they're just from opposite coasts. So this is from Nova Scotia. The Incredible Seed Company is Nova Scotia, West Coast Seeds is in Vancouver. Starting with the Anaheim Pepper, it is an heirloom. I believe it's from California. Yep, takes about 70 to 90 days and it does ripen to red. This is kind of my substitute for the traditional bell pepper. Maybe it is a bell pepper. I'm honestly not too sure with all the classifications and such, but I'm excited to grow this one. It's supposed to have a little bit more heat to it than a bell pepper, but not be spicy. I don't know if you have heard this from me yet, but I am not into hot things. That being said, I do like paprika and cayenne, so I got both of those types of peppers because it took me a while to realize that I could grow a pepper, dehydrate the pepper, dry it out, grind it up, and use it as a spice. And once all of those dots got connected in my brain, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to try to grow these. Also, my older brother, Jeremy, really enjoys spicy food, and I actually made some cowboy candy with, I believe, cayenne peppers last year, and they ended up being quite sweet and not very spicy at all, so I've branched out into some more peppers this year to hopefully do some more cowboy candy because he really enjoyed it. So we're gonna play around with the peppers. The specific type is a large red thick cayenne. Again, it takes anywhere between 65 to 80 days, so a little faster than the Anaheim for the cayenne pepper. Those are like quite skinny, so I'm hoping that I can get like a decent amount. They don't take a long time to like put on a big, thick kind of flesh. That's my theory. And then the paprika, how many days? 90 days. So this one's gonna take a little bit longer. I'll just keep on potting these up inside, honestly, if I have to, and keep them in the greenhouse and not put them outside until I am certain that we have very warm evenings. I also got these peppercinis. These guys look weird, and I like that. They're also supposed to be spicy, but not crazy spicy. Definitely weird shaped. And apparently they ripen quite fast. They take 70 days to mature. I have a lot of hope for these ones because they seem to be plausible for out here. So those are my peppers that I'm growing this year. We only have 130 frost-free days up here, so peppers are definitely not like a main crop. This is definitely more a fun endeavor, and if I can grow my brother some spicy peppers, I know he'll appreciate it, and I would love to be able to experience homegrown, dried, and hand-ground cayenne or paprika. So both of those will be really fun experiments, and I hope I get a good harvest or a decent harvest off of them this year. Now on to tomato-esque things. I'm doing purple tomatillos. Obviously that is not a tomato, but it's going in this category because it's so close to being a tomato. I now realize that I've never grown tomatillos before, which means I've never grown green ones, and to start with a purple one seems a little weird, especially because you mostly use tomatillos to make salsa verde, but I also know that purple vegetables are apparently really, really good for you. So whenever you can get a purple variety of something, it increases a very specific enzyme in there that's like hard for you to find in vegetables, and that was my reasoning behind this one. I'm excited. Hopefully they're good, and I'll just have to make purple salsa. On that note, this year I have really branched out and bought a lot of tomato varieties, all of which are known for and have stories of being like the earliest producing varieties I could possibly find for cold climates. I got quite a few new tomato varieties this season. I'm going to start with my main harvest tomatoes, basically the ones that aren't cherry tomatoes, so the ones I'll potentially be able to put up in some type of canning or hopefully like get a good harvest off of. These are the main crop tomatoes. So I am starting my tomatoes off in fairly large little cells here because I'm going to end up potting them up into solo cups, and I know it might be better if I start them small and pot them up to this size and then pot them up again, but I don't want to be potting them up like 20 times, so hopefully they don't mind starting in something a little bit bigger. I don't remember what I started them in last year to begin with. I think I might have just started them all in one big container and then divided them up. I think that's what I did. Should I do that again? I'm not gonna do that. The first of our new varieties this year are the Moscovich, which is a variety from Russia. The fruit is supposed to be around 4 to 6 ounces, which is technically a smaller tomato, but when you're looking at these very early producing cold hardy-ish varieties, that's average. So that's like a good size for growing a tomato up here. Specifically got this variety because it was developed in Russia. It is supposed to grow extremely fast and produce early, 60 days apparently. So really excited for this variety. The next variety would be the Stupeka tomato. Its origins are from the Czech Republic, and it takes 50 days to maturity. It's indeterminate, and it's a potato leaf variety. It was actually developed in 1940. I'm very curious to see what growing an indeterminate potato leaf variety looks like. I'll be honest with you, I have not done a lot of research on what a potato leaf tomato means. I don't know what the requirements are, so I'm gonna get these seeds started, and I'll probably end up reading a lot and watching some YouTube videos on potato leaf tomato plants. If you have any tips or any kind of recommendations on how these might be different, let me know in the comments below. I will appreciate it. Next up would be the Glacier Tomato. Again, I got this variety because it apparently grows very well in cool climates. It takes 55 days to mature. It says here on the package that it does not waste time with greenery, as it is only around 2.5 to 3 feet tall. Its fruit are around 2 to 3 inches in diameter and a reddish orange color when they are ripe. So those are the 3 new tomatoes that I'm trying out this year. Some that we are bringing back would be the Manitoba as well as the early girl tomatoes. I'll be starting a few of those, but significantly less, as I will be heavily testing out my new tomato varieties. The early girl and the Manitoba did well, but I didn't find that they actually were as early producing as the reviews implied. So I went and I dug hard to find the Stupeca, the Moscovich, as well as the Glacier tomatoes. Those are worldly recognized as some of the earliest producing and most cold tolerant tomato plants that there are out there. So I'm really hoping that those 3 pull through for me, and I'll try the early girl and the Manitoba one more season and see how they do. Tiny Tims. As if you guys watched my garden tours last year, you will realize that I didn't know that these were dwarf plants, and I was so confused as to why these things only grew like half a foot tall. I will be planting these again this year, and I will be enjoying them for exactly how they are without thinking I have somehow maimed them in the process of growing them. A mid-afternoon snowstorm. And the wind is picking up. Just some casual snow and a windstorm. While I've been out here, I have been pondering the concept of wanting to start your plants in smaller cells and then up-pot them as their root systems grow and they need more food and they need to be able to hold more water, etc. And there's also a lot of talk about how plants don't like to start in an area that's like too much bigger than them. But my thought, and now I have to like investigate, because in nature they just start in the ground. So why would they have any issue starting in a pot that's too large for them? I don't know. Because obviously the ground is like infinite dirt. That's my thought. What are you checking out, buddy? Did you hear Grandma? You know when you're buying seeds online and you go a little crazy and buy way more than you should? I ended up buying like 4 cherry tomatoes. Again, growing cherry tomatoes, growing any kind of tomato out here is not really easy for me. I don't know why I went this hard on cherry tomato varieties. I think it's because I found these really cool bumblebee tomatoes that are like striped and they look adorable. So I bought 2 types of them. I bought this variety, which is the purple bumblebee. Again, it takes 70 days. I'll probably plant these guys in containers so I can move them in and out of the greenhouse if I need to. As well as the sunrise bumblebee. So these ones are like a yellow-orange with some red tones. They look magical. Again, I will be planting most of these cherry tomatoes in planters so I can move them in and out of cover. I have to say I'm extremely excited about the bumblebee varieties of cherry tomatoes. Both the sunrise as well as the purple. They've just got really funky stripes and I think they're gonna look gorgeous in a salad. I mean, I say that and I don't eat a lot of salads, so I'll probably just eat them raw, but still. And then I've got the Eigelhart cherry tomato. This one takes 75 days, it's an indeterminate, and it's an heirloom from Italy. So I believe it's yellow. I think that's why I ended up buying these seeds because I don't have any yellow tomatoes and I felt like it would be cool if I could try to have some of those. That's why I've got them. Again, planting them in containers to hopefully be able to harvest some. And last but not least, for the tomatoes that I'm growing this season, I've got the Gardener's Delight cherry tomatoes. Takes 65 days. Again, it's an indeterminate. Apparently it produces hundreds of clusters of tiny, tiny cherry tomatoes. It looks like one of those classic ones that people grow on their porches, so I'm probably just going to tuck this on the porch somewhere, maybe 2 or 3, and see if we can get anything off of them. They grow in like huge bunches. I'm very excited to see if this kind of produces. Of course, I love eating cherry tomatoes. I love dehydrating them and putting them in olive oil, so hopefully we can get quite a few. I would love to be able to have cherry tomatoes fresh eating for salads and like those little bocconcini skewers where you do tomatoes and cheese and basil and then the drizzle. That's if they don't freeze, which, you know, they'll probably freeze. In case if I don't get perfect germination, which is very likely, you usually miss 1 or 2 seeds, they don't germinate, I am doubling up the seeds in a couple of the cells of each variety. Because I end up potting both my peppers and tomatoes before I put them outside in the ground, usually several times, I don't mind having multiple plants in one cell until the time comes to up pot them. I'll split them off when I up pot them, and then they'll have enough space and food and etc. of their own. So it's not a big deal if they're in the same cell for a week or 2 weeks. Something I want to be a lot more intentional about and potentially proactive about this year would be saving seeds. In particular, things like the purple bumblebee cherry tomatoes. I paid like $5 for 10 of those seeds from West Coast Company. That's pretty expensive. So if I don't remember, please remind me to start saving seeds from certain varieties I have here. I do make an effort to try and get mostly heirloom. I know the Eagleheart Yellow is heirloom, Tiny Tim is a hybrid, but I believe it's stable so you can save seeds from it. And I believe Gardener's Delight is also an heirloom variety. Alright, we've got all of our cherry tomatoes planted. This is taking me quite a while. I think you're just slower when you're sick. That's it. Just a little slower. But that's okay. It's a cozy day to sit in the greenhouse, drink a coffee, and put some seeds in the dirt. Okay, so another thing, kind of like the tomatillo, I don't know what category to put it in, but I got Goldie ground cherries. Excited to try these out. I live in the forest. There's like chipmunks and squirrels and rabbits and deers, so I'm not sure how allowing these to hit the ground, like if I have to let them grow on the ground or if I can pick them up a bit on a trellis. We'll see how it goes, but we're starting those today as well. This is inspired, I only know about these and I'm only growing them because of Jess from Roots and Refuge Farm, so I'm excited to see how they work out. Our gravel road is very, very bad right now because the spring runoff and the melt and frost heaves. So when cars drive by right now, Ripley has a really hard time he doesn't chase them, but he'll like stop what he's doing, stare them down, and start heading towards the road. So it makes me nervous more than he actually goes and chases the car, but it's like a little sketchy. I don't like it. New perennial herbs that I want to get started. I have catnip that did overwinter, but I'm going to plant a bit more because only one of my plants survived the winter. So starting some catnip, some wild bergamot. Also going to get quite a bit of parsley, double curled parsley going as well. Love parsley, it's so fresh and it usually stands up to cold weather quite well, so I'll get a lot started now, and if I need to I'll up pot it into some larger pots and grow it in some windows, but I want to have that green goodness back in my life. Ooh, another new item to the homestead this year, okra. I have no idea how to grow okra, but it does say start 8 weeks before the last frost, so I'm going to be starting it today. Takes 60 days to grow to maturity apparently, and I still have to get the garden bed amended and cleared where I'm going to be putting this, but very excited to grow some okra. I hope I like it. I don't think I've ever had it. I'm also going to be dabbling with some broccoli, which again, foreign to me. Never grown this, but I know it's real good for you, and again I went with the purple variety, just like with the tomatillos, because I heard that Purple vegetables are hard to come by and extremely good for you and high in a very specific enzyme that you need. The purple peacock variety is a cross between different broccoli varieties and kale, apparently, so it's not a sprouting broccoli exactly, but it's very frilly and it's quite open and kale-esque, so we'll see how that goes. I knew that I wouldn't probably be able to achieve the whole classic broccoli head, so I went with something that wasn't a classic broccoli head. We're gonna be trying Brussels sprouts again. Last year, they ended up growing, but a rabbit ate them. I have an entire bed where I cleared that oregano out. I'll link to the video where I did that. But I cleared my oregano bed out, and that's where I'm going to be planting the brassicas. So my Brussels sprouts, my broccoli, my kale this year, and I'm going to be actually putting up a mesh to protect from all of the cabbage moths and such. So trying the Brussels sprouts again. I have the seeds. I'll keep trying as long as I have the seeds, and if I don't at some point have success, then Brussels sprouts might not be for Tamtara. And then another exciting thing would be these Shanghai Express goji berries. I have no idea where I'm going to put these yet. Obviously they're a perennial. I have the raspberries down here on the property. We've got the blueberries planted up there. So I'm probably going to plant them, grow them, pot them up until I figure out where I want to put them. Might put them in a few spots, might give some away. Depends on how well this whole germination process goes. 3 hours later and a few snowstorms, and we have all of our seeds started. Well, all of our seeds started for this round. For now, let me show you what we did today. So while I start all of my seeds out here in the greenhouse, it is far too cold to keep these guys out here or for them to possibly germinate, especially because these are all of our tomatoes and our peppers. So I will now carry all of these indoors and put them underneath our grow lights and on our heat mat. This whole tray here is our main crop tomatoes. Here we've got some cherry tomatoes. Back here are our peppers. We've got okra, some catnip, bergamot. Over here we've got the goji, tomatillos, ground cherries. And then up here we just got the Brussels sprouts, broccoli, and some parsley. Basically, I use the greenhouse for planting seeds because I physically come out here and do this in the greenhouse, as well as hardening them off, and I will put cold hardy crops out here before my last frost date so that I have more room in my grow station indoors. I might also rig up some lights and potentially a heater in here this spring, depending on how much space I need. As you can tell just from what we did today, I am definitely increasing the amount of plants that I'm starting. I have 2 years gardening here underneath my belt. I have a clearer idea of what works well, what doesn't, as well as what we really enjoy eating and things that we want more of in hopes of being able to preserve them. So there's going to be a lot more plants this season, so I'm going to have to utilize this greenhouse a little bit more. And not to mention, this is the first season that most of the framing is actually finished. Not most, all of the framing on the greenhouse is actually finished for this spring, so I can actually use it properly and it'll do a better job keeping my precious little babies warm. So thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and putting up with my slightly lower energy levels than normal. I hope you have your seeds started. I'm usually one of the last people I know to get my seeds started because I live so high in the mountains, so I'm sure you all are well on your way. Let me know in the comments below if you are growing any of the varieties that I'm growing this year. I will see you all very shortly with another video. May the force be with you. Bye-bye for now. Moving on to tomato-esque things. I'm doing purple. Okay, I want to talk about my fashion choices. Obviously, dope hat. I look like one of those Bernstein bears, right? Oh, especially when I do that. That's way better. There we go. Classic. Then I got the oversized, big, comfy sweater because spring is cold. I don't know who lied about that and told us it wasn't. It is. But then, I got these dope bell bottoms. I got some sandals and some big old wool socks. And this is what it looks like when you're sick, but you got seeds to plant and you want to feel cute and springy. So, ta-da!